In this video, I'm gonna explain how crying in front of a girl led me to create a 6-figure YouTube business where I can finally afford silly, overpriced wooden bears. My name is Kenny Bender. I have another channel that has over 230,000 subscribers. It's made around $40,000 in ad revenue, but that doesn't matter. What's really more important is that it's created a 6-figure business in the background. It's granted me what I've always desired as an aspiring creator, and no, not silly wooden bears, but the freedom that comes from being a full-time creator. Because before I made it, I was budget grocery shopping at Walmart. I was living in rundown apartments. I was working entry-level jobs like front desk at a gym, all while in the background trying to make this YouTube thing work, because it's been my dream since I was like 12 years old. When I got my first ever little iPod Touch with the camera, I was making videos. Fast forward to now, I've been hopping all around the country. I hopped over to Costa Rica. I spent 30+ days traveling in California. I recently moved from Texas to Arizona, and I went from budget shopping at Walmart to having my own private chef in the kitchen. That's not true, but I do get my groceries at Whole Foods. And I want to clarify that I did not invent some secret method or path. This is something that you can copy me directly because I'm not special. I had student loans, I had a car loan, I dropped out of college, I grew up with a single mother. But because I spent years figuring it out and thousands of dollars on education and resources, I have now fully replaced my job with YouTube for the past 3 years. So remember how I said I was making content since I was 12? Technically that's true, but there was a 2-year period in high school where I completely quit. The pressure to enroll in college, the pressure to care about my grades and get on the normal path got to me, and I completely stopped making YouTube videos up until my senior year of high school, where I was hanging out at my girlfriend's house showing her my old videos. So we're sitting there, I probably showed her 10 to 20 of my old videos. She thinks it's awesome, she's laughing, but I wasn't laughing. In fact, luckily I had my head turned away from her, but my eyes started to swell with tears because it was in that moment that it hit me. I had given up on my dream. I had let the younger version of myself down, the younger version that had this dream of becoming a full-time YouTuber. And in that moment, I decided I was going to return. I was going to figure this out. I was going to make this work, because if not, I wasn't going to be able to live with myself. So like I've always done, I just made videos about my interests. And at the time, it was the gym. So I was just making little fitness vlogs, showing myself deadlifting and messing around with my friends. And I blew up and got 1 million subs and made $1 million. No, none of that happened. I had like a couple hundred subs for my gaming days. My videos were getting 20 to 100 views, and that went on for the entire year. But towards the end of that year, on a complete and utter whim, I decided to drive down to Houston, Texas, about 6 hours away from home, to attend a Gymshark event. If you don't know, Gymshark is this massive fitness brand, and at the time they were the biggest. They had all the cool gym influencers. And I was like, no way, I could go and meet them and take pictures. And of course, make a video out of it. So we drive down and we decide to go to Alphalete Gym. This was a gym owned by a massive fitness influencer. And it's funny because I remember being so nervous to enter a building just because I saw it on YouTube. It was the first time I've ever seen anything on YouTube in real life, because I grew up in a very small town. There was no such thing as YouTubers or influencers or anything like that. We go inside, we're hitting our lift, and about 20 minutes in, I remember looking over my shoulder and seeing David Lade, the biggest fitness influencer at the time. And not just him, but a handful of the influencers came to work out at the gym. And a lot of people were rushing to them, asking for pictures, videoing them, absolutely fanboying, to be honest with you. But what's interesting is I didn't fanboy whatsoever. I just sat there looking at them and just kind of farming this feeling that I was having and trying to hold on to it, because I was realizing that, holy shit, this is real. There are people in reality that make content, and that is their full-time job. And up until this point, yeah, I was working towards it, but I was half-assing it because there was a huge amount of self-doubt within me. A part of me that thought, it's not real, it can't happen to me, they all got lucky, they're all this mystical, magical thing through a screen, they don't actually exist. But all of that was eradicated in that moment. So I go back home, I drop out of college, and I move back down there to Houston, Texas to pursue my dreams of being a creator. And this leads me to my first point. It is completely normal to have anxiety when you think of leaving school or leaving your job to go all in on this creator thing. And I'm not gonna be one of those people that say, you need to drop everything right now and go all in on your dreams, because that's honestly not true. You can always have the current lily pad that you are on. I would draw you as a frog, but I don't know how to draw a frog. And in your spare time, work on creating this next lily pad. And once this lily pad is buoyant enough to support you, then you can go over and get on this new lily pad. And even though I dropped out of college and went all in on my dreams, I was still doing this. I had to pay rent. I had to get my Walmart groceries. But I will say I did tactically eliminate my other options, my plan B, which up until that point was plan A, which was go to college, get a well-paying job, making like $80,000 to $100,000 as a physical therapist. Because I knew my only shot of actually sticking to this and making this work was by tactically applying stress on my life. And I had to do that by burning the boats. In 1519, Hernan Cortez sailed the ocean and got on land, and he and his guys were gonna go try and conquer the Aztecs. But Hernan Cortez knew that some of his men were scared. Some of them wanted to hop back on the ship and go home, which means they won't fight nearly as hard to conquer the Aztecs because they felt they didn't fully have to. So Hernan Cortez set all of the boats on fire to where they had no other option but to go fuck up the Aztecs. And that is step one if you actually want to turn this into your job, is that you can't have a comfortable enough backup. You can't have a safety net beneath you. It's perfectly okay to sit on that current lily pad and wait to hop onto the next, but your current state, your current lily pad cannot be too comfortable. And if it is, it's time to burn some boats so you'll truly commit to going all in, because otherwise your subconscious will always know it's in a comfortable spot whether you win or lose at this YouTube game. And that means subconsciously, you will just not work as hard. And unlike what the majority of creator gurus will tell you, this isn't the easiest thing in the world. This isn't the easiest way to make money, but it is one of the most fulfilling. It's the most fulfilling for me, and it is one of the most freeing once it actually works. Flash forward a year, I landed a job freelancing as a video editor, so I had a little bit more free time to work on my own YouTube, but I was still doing these fitness vlogs. I had some more momentum. I was getting thousands of views instead of 50 to 100, but I wasn't making much money. Ad revenue isn't that great, especially in that niche. I was getting like $2 per 1,000 views. It couldn't even buy my groceries. And it wasn't until the very end of 2021 that I made a single video that would change the course of my life forever. Because up until that point, all of my videos were pretty much the same shit. It was just me working out. And honestly, looking back, it was very selfish content to make because I had an ego that thought, oh, I'm funny enough. My workouts, I look decent enough. I picked the right music. I edited enough to where people should be watching this. I should be getting tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of views on my workout videos. But I reached a point where I wanted to make a transformation video. These are big in the fitness realm, but typically it's just videos of your before and after with some music in your fitness journey. Very basic stuff. Still very selfish, egocentric stuff, but sometimes they did well. But there was something within me that said, I don't want to do that. I want to make this video for people that were like me, skinny, insecure kids, and I don't just want to show my transformation, tell my story. I want to give them actionable advice to help them get the same outcome that I got. So for the first time in my life, I wrote an entire script, word for word, in Apple Notes. I made a nice little setup. I got my blue snowball microphone on an arm, and I did a talking head video. And instead of just slapping a shirtless picture of me as the thumbnail, I went and found two very high-performing YouTube videos, took the core ingredients, combined them to make my video packaging, and I clicked upload. And it was getting some traction, getting some views. And it wasn't all of a sudden blowing up, but as the months passed, I was like, oh, 50,000 views, 100,000 views, 200, 300, all the way to over 2 million views. I went from fucking a couple thousand views a video to 2 million views on a video because I did tip number 2. I switched from selfish to selfless content. If you really want to turn YouTube into your job, you have to stop being selfish as a creator, because in this relationship between you and the viewers, only one of them gets to be selfish, and spoiler alert, it's not you. It's the viewers. The viewers are incredibly selfish, and that's perfectly fine. They deserve to be. YouTube as a platform, the creators as a platform exist to serve the ideal viewers, ideal content. So because I put the viewers first, I actually spoke to them, I actually helped them, that video did insane numbers, and I realized, oh, this is the path. Because not only did it get the numbers and yeah, made a couple $1,000s, but I was getting the most mind-blowing comments I've ever gotten in my entire life. This is the best video ever. I felt like you're speaking exactly to me. This video changed my life. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I relate to you exactly. And for the first time ever, really, I got immeasurable amounts of fulfillment out of a video. It was no longer, oh yeah, another vlog. It was, holy shit, I'm helping people. And from that point on, I've never looked back. It's funny because I'm actually being more selfish making selfless videos because I feel so much better getting the feedback and the performance on those videos than something selfish that I'm just making for entertainment purposes, for narcissistic purposes, or anything like that. So for you, that means you have to have a very specific vision of the ideal viewer, and you need to pass every aspect of your content, from the title to the thumbnail to the words you say, through the filter of what's in it for them. And I said specific because I could have just made a general fitness tips video, but it wouldn't have resonated with the audience nearly as much. But the fact that I was speaking to skinny, insecure teenagers, it resonated perfectly. This is such a crucial step that everyone gets wrong, including myself at times, and that's why I've created an audience avatar generator, this template that once you fill it out, you'll have a crystal clear vision on who your content is for, and you will 10x the impact and over time the performance of your videos. It's a completely free thing I've made for you. It's in the description below. But you know what's crazy? Even after switching to Talking Head, even after having multiple videos blow up, there was still days where I didn't do what was required to get the results I wanted. I wasn't making the money I wanted. I wasn't having the growth I wanted. I wasn't posting as consistently as I wanted to because I was still operating through the mind frame of an amateur creator, of a starving artist. And that means I just made videos when I felt motivated to. I just recorded when I felt like I was in a good mood. And I didn't set up the necessary systems to turn it into an actual business because, well, I'm a YouTuber. I'm just gonna do sponsorships and make money off ad revenue. Until one day, I decided to stop watching my regular, whatever, entertainment content on YouTube, and I started to watch interviews and podcasts of CEOs. And after hearing them talk about the way they work, about the way they view their business, something flipped inside me. And I realized I've been going about this completely wrong from the start. Because if I actually wanted to make this a career, if I actually wanted to make this a business, then I needed to become the CEO. So there's this spectrum when it comes to the personalities of creators. And most of the time, creators land around here, towards the side of being a pure-blooded creative. And the opposite end of the spectrum is those who treat it like a true business, is those that embody the archetype of a CEO. And while the majority of creators are over here, this is actually where most of the struggle is, and very little of them actually turn it into a business, whereas those who can come over here and be more on this side of the spectrum, you don't have to go full CEO, we're always going to have that creative bone in our body, but you will unlock the version of you that is required to turn this thing into an actual business, to make this an actual career, and thus generate the actual amount of income you need to go full time. And all you have to do to adopt this identity is realize this: the CEO doesn't sleep in and clock into work late. The CEO doesn't skip a day of work because he's not feeling it, he's not motivated. A CEO doesn't spend his days dopamine farming, watching informational content nonstop on YouTube instead of actually taking the actions required. Because the CEO plays the part of a CEO. He shows up to work every single day regardless. He checks off the tasks he needs to do regardless of how he feels. Because he knows that the entire business's success is on him. And he cannot rely on airy-fairy motivation, happiness that comes and goes like the wind. And the mistake that creators make is they think, oh, well, once I get to the point of making money and making it a business, then I'll be able to be like that version of myself. I'll be able to be the CEO of my content. But the thing is, the only way to get to that point is to become the CEO version of yourself now. Because we tend to think that once we get to that desired outcome, that point, once I make it a full-time job, then I will become that higher version of myself, that CEO, when the reality is, no, you become that version of yourself. I'm giving you cool sunglasses to represent it for some reason. And becoming that version of yourself gives you the key that unlocks that door to the things you want. So even if right now you don't have a lot of views, you don't have a lot of traffic, you're not making a lot of income, if any at all, behave as if you are running a massive YouTube business. And eventually, because of your actions programmed by your identity, reality is going to catch up. Okay, I've been dangling the carrot in front of you for too long. Let's actually talk money, because you're gonna need to make money if you want to make it your job, obviously. And this is a simple 3-part formula to get exactly that. And actually, up until this point, we've actually already covered the first 2 steps. And that is by having an ambitious audience, and that doesn't mean they want to make $1 million or anything like that. It just means an audience that has aspirations beyond their current state. It could be They are a little overweight and they want to be a more fit version of themselves. In my case, I was making content for men that wanted to be a better version of themselves, especially mentally. I was making self-improvement content. And this is key because you want to avoid low quality views, which comes from making entertainment videos, videos that don't offer a lot of value, videos that are pure negativity, no education. And that is, I became a sage, meaning that I was telling my stories and giving my steps that I took to reach a desired outcome, the same desired outcome that ideally your audience has. And this is beyond just basic educational content. This isn't just education, this is inspiration. You are inspiring the audience to take the same path as you and to trust you as the sage to guide them on their journey. But if you just do these two things, you are still going to be a slave to view counts, a slave to ad revenue. And sure, maybe eventually you can get some sponsorship deals, but you're still in some ways a slave to your view count, because if your views are down, the sponsors aren't going to pay you very much. But what's great about taking this role of this digital sage is that you, through step 3, will transcend view count, meaning even with a smaller amount of views, you can make way more money than relying on ad revenue. And this is the key to breaking free and actually making this a full-time thing, and that is by creating an offer. And in a nutshell, your offer is the structured, accelerated version of what you achieved through trial and error. This can be literally anything that you've accomplished, anything you've made progression on in your life, whether you've gotten better at knitting, whether you've gotten better at a first-person shooter, whether you lost a bunch of weight or got jacked. Literally any desired outcome that you've achieved through going through hell. You spent all this time, all this energy, all this trial and error, all this knowledge acquired to get this desired outcome, and your offer is the bridge to help your audience circumvent the majority of all that hardship to get the same desired outcome. For example, my offer was Mental Mastery, a men's self-improvement course. And the current version of the offer is to eliminate insecurity, distractibility, and harmful habits in 30 days. Those are problems that I struggled with for years and years and years. I read tons of self-improvement books. I trial and errored my way to getting success and getting a desired outcome. And then I created a way, a program to condense all that information and get them the same amount of knowledge I had within 30 days. And I vividly remember launching this product because it was right when I was about to get laid off as a freelance video editor. I launched this product, and even in the first month, I was making double what my salary was as a video editor. And that was the moment that my entire life changed. I no longer had to work for someone else. I could work whenever I wanted, wherever I wanted. I had the money to travel. I had the money to get the nice groceries and treat my girlfriend to dinner. And finally, I could do the thing I've always wanted to do. Make videos about the things I'm interested in for people like me. And that is exactly the path I took to replace my job with YouTube. And obviously there is a ton of nuance to this. How do you make the right content with the right packaging that attracts the right people? How do you get people to not just watch one video, but binge a bunch of videos? How do you build a cult-like following, a bulletproof personal brand, and actually set up the business and offer in a way that compels people to hand over their money for your product? Because the truth is, there's all these different ways that people are trying to teach you how or what, but the only thing that doesn't change is the why. Why does certain content do well? Why does certain content flop? Why do certain personal brands blow up? Why do certain personal brands flop? Why do certain offers and businesses work? And why do other ones not even make a cent? And only then is when I realized that it's not about the YouTube algorithm. It's about learning an algorithm that hasn't changed for thousands of years, that is perfectly predictable, perfectly exploitable, and that is the human algorithm, human psychology. So if you want to learn my entire content creation system, my entire personal branding strategy, my entire business model backed by bulletproof human psychology, you can consider checking out, it's paid, it's a paid program, paid mastermind, Audience Alchemy, in the description below. And if you want to know instantly 5 things that will blow up your personal brand leveraging psychology, you can click the video on the screen right now. Take this, copy this, apply it to your personal brand. I promise you, you will see a difference. Check out Audience Alchemy in the description below. Check out the video on screen right now. Okay, I love you. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.